Nice to meet you, and good morning, Alphonso Johnson.
Good morning.
Here in Jazz Meeting in Hengelo at our house. So this is my room. And so you have sunny weather.
Yeah, it's beautiful here today. Yeah.
So it's beginning dark here. So it's Alfonso. I'm really honored that you are here. Give us a little sunshine. Can you tell me something about your musical adventure?
You mean in the past or recently?
Well, past, when did it start? When did you fall in love with your instrument and with jazz?
That would have to be when I was in public school, and that would be about the 6th grade when I was in the elementary school in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One of the days during the week of classes, our teacher told us that we were going to be shown another room by a music teacher. So when the time came, we all, got in line and marched to this room.
Yes.
And when the door opened, we could all see that there were all these musical instruments spread out throughout the room. And I immediately saw the cello and thought, oh, that would be cool. Mm-hmm. So she said, go stand next to the instrument you want to play. So everybody went into the room. And as I walked over towards the cello, I felt a hand on my shoulder.
Yes.
And it's the teacher. And she kind of spun me around and she said, since you're the tallest one in the class, I have the perfect instrument for you. So when she spun me around, I could see off in the corner there was an upright bass.
Yeah.
And that's how I started playing bass.
Okay. So your heroes, there were also heroes, jazz heroes. Can you name some who have influenced your style?
Everybody's a hero to me, I've listened to drummers, bass players, trombone players, pianists. I mean, it's all an influence,
And the jazz, there was right away, or?
I started playing classical music, so maybe my first hero was Beethoven and Bach and, the traditional classical pieces that you learn when you're in school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say about the 1960s, I started listening to a radio station in Philadelphia, which was at Temple University. And that station really influenced my music because they would play everything. They played Jimi Hendrix, they played John Coltrane, they played Muddy Waters. It was very eclectic. So I didn't know what eclectic was at that time. So to me, that was normal to hear such a wide variety of music.
Yeah. But you still love, of course, the classical Bach and Beethoven. And yes, and you yes, okay. Well, you have tell me something about the period with the weather report.
So I met Joe Zawinul and Wayne Shorter whilst I was playing with the Chuck Mangione Quartet. And this was in 1975, towards the end of 75. We were playing a concert in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is my hometown. And we were opening, Chuck Mangione Quartet was opening for a weather report. So naturally, I was really excited, because two of my most favorite musicians at the time, and so we were playing with Chuck, and it's a quartet. It's flugelhorn, saxophone, bass, and drums. But when Chuck would go to solo, he would get up from the piano, and so it would be bass, drums, and flugelhorn. So I could provide a lot of the harmony, and I could move the harmony around by way of there's no keyboard player dictating to me what I had to stay with. So at some point that song I was given a bass solo, and I'm sure the fact that most of my high school buddies and my parents were in the audience, I got a standing ovation, and as I was bowing, I kind of looked over to the left part of the stage, and I saw Wayne Shorter, and he was standing there, and he was kind of smiling,
Okay.
So after our set, the promoter came over and he said, someone wants to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
So I go backstage, and it's Wayne Shorter. So I walk into his dressing room, and we started talking, and next thing I know, their manager called me the following day to see if I wanted to come out and audition for the band.
Wow.
And the rest was history.
Mm-hmm. So one of your highlights?
That was my highlight, yeah. One of many.
Yeah, one of many, okay. Then you are very rich.
Well, it was also a highlight for me to be asked to play with George Duke and Billy Cobham and John Scofield.
Yeah.
That was, it's definitely a highlight to be asked to record with Quincy Jones and Phil Collins. And so no one event kind of took precedent over any, but I would say joining Weather Report was the beginning of a pretty serious career for me.
Well, George Duke, Wayne Shorter, you told Weather Report, and what can you tell me about what did you learn on the way, on the road, during tour?
Many things happen along the way to that, and I think when I grew up in South Philadelphia, I got to play with a lot of local musicians, and that really shapes you as a person. So you're able to hang out with older musicians, see how they talk to each other and the body language, and how they communicate music to each other. That was the best education. So growing up with people like Sherman Ferguson on drums, and Eddie Green on keyboards, and Odine Pope on saxophone, Bobby Eli guitar. I mean, there's so many amazing musicians in Philadelphia that I got to play with that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but they really helped shape who I am. And also my family. My family greatly influenced me, growing up with 3 brothers and 3 sisters. We got to share a lot. We were close. I watched them and learned a lot. And I also got to listen to all of their records. So that shaped my musical knowledge as well.
Well, what meant success to you then, when you were younger? And what means success to you now?
This means success to me now. I'm going to show you something. I don't know if you can see it, but
yes,
there's a spa, and I'm building a spa cover. So that's my newest gig.
So, but the success when you were younger, what did it mean to you?
That's a good question. Success to me when I was younger meant doing well in school academically, having fun. That was success. I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, so there was always being in harm's way. So every day that I got to get home safely, that was success. And success has many different faces. So a lot of different things meant success to me back then.
Yes, but after touring, you will success get another definition. I think it grows with you all the way.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So, well, the young generations, they must discover their road. Maybe it's a winding road. I don't know. But what do you want to say? What kind of message do you have for the new generation?
I have a lot of students right now that I teach at the University of Southern California and also at the California Institute of the Arts. And I think the one thing I try to tell them is to not be afraid to try something new. They are today's youth, they're very sensitive, and they're very aware of what's going on. So when I'm sitting with them, I try to share some of my life experiences with them so they can relate to how they can take things that they're going through right now in life and attach that to their music so they're telling their story.
Yeah.
Not just listening to me and telling my story. I've already told that story, but they need to create their own dialogue. Yeah. And that I think is the most important thing, learning how to connect with other people, and then eventually when they're playing their music, how to connect with their audience. So that's the thing that I try to share with them.
Yeah. So you're also a teacher at USC?
Yes.
And what about your music? Your own music? Are you playing? Do you have new records or something like that?
I have a CD that was released last August, actually. It's called Metaphors. Mm-hmm. And it's on sale. You can buy it on CD Baby or iTunes. And it was a way for me to finally do a recording of songs that I felt really attached to. Mm-hmm. And there's one song in particular that has a lot of meaning for me. It's called No Place Like No Place on Earth. And about 20 years ago, there was a young man who, his name was Matthew Shepard, and he lived in Montana, and he was killed by two guys who were homophobic, because Matthew was homosexual.
Yes.
And so when I read the story on the news, it affected me in a way that stuck with me for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I said, one day I want to write a song about this. And so I did, and I included it on the CD, on the recording. And there's one other song that I wrote that's really dear to me. It's a song that I wrote called Someday. And it's kind of a tribute to my 3 kids. So it's something I wanted to leave for them, And I still practice all the time like a crazy person, and I'm trying to keep my electric and classical chops equal balanced, and so that keeps me busy.
Do you have more dreams?
Always.
Oh.
Yeah. Always.
So it's very important to have always dreams.
I think so, yeah, and then sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's nice to have peace and quiet, It's a funny thing about dreams. You never know if they're connecting you with what's going to happen, mm-hmm. as well as what has already happened.
Yes.
And I've always been interested to see how sometimes things happen in life and you think, oh, wait a minute, I remember dreaming about this, or this has a feeling of deja vu, you know.
Yeah.
So it's curious. It's a curious thing about dreams. Well, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to your online chat, and hope that you enjoy the music that I provide to my public, and feel free to contact me anytime.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you for being you and for sharing, of course. And I want to wish you luck, love, happiness, and of course, good health, because, well, good health is very important.